Proof.
1991 specifically.
Yeah.
There's also a Proof 2005.
Right. This is the Australian Proof.
Australian.
Or, as they say in Australia, Proof. I don't think it's pronounced
It
differently.
doesn't have
It's
its
not
own.
a word that really stands out with a different accent. Proof, American accent. Proof, Australian accent.
Mm-hmm.
What is this? Irish accent. Proof. So, you know, it's not you're not
Heard it.
gonna hear someone say proof and be like, I know where you're
I
from.
know exactly where you're from.
Hey everybody, welcome back to AI Made Us Watch. It's been a minute.
Yeah.
We were wildly under the weather
Mm-hmm.
after the Fringe Festival, down for weeks, man.
I have not been that sick in a long time.
Yeah.
I was pretty mad about it.
Well,
I was like, let me speak to the management, which is like, whom are you trying to talk to?
Who do you write to? Who do you complain to? Like, you're so used to complaining to someone about your problems.
I know. That's what I was like. It's the
and
white woman
demanding
in me.
resolution.
It's the white woman in me
You were
that
like,
said, I need to speak to a manager.
I will start
I'm unhappy with my current state
crying.
of existence. I lost my voice too for a minute.
Yeah, same. I also lost my voice, found out that the menthol cough drops, those will
yeah.
absolutely destroy your voice, apparently.
But then you got these really nice, was it Manuka honey?
Yeah.
Which is from New Zealand. Isn't it?
Where's it from again?
New Zealand.
New Zealand.
New Zealand.
Sure. So you got Manuka honey drops.
They were delicious.
They were delicious. Did they
And-
stop you from coughing?
I mean, they did okay.
They're not cough drops.
They're
They
not
were
really
like
cough
throat
drops like that, but they were like acting like Manuka honey could just solve all your problems.
They do. Manuka honey is often touted as one of those like miracle.
Mhm.
They've been eating it for 30,000 years to cure all kinds of diseases. And I'm like, that's cool. I firmly believe in some alternative medicines. I know that one of the best things you can do is hot water and honey and lemon, and I'm sucking that down the whole time I'm sick. And also, I understand why we were desperate for something that works faster and better than that. Still going.
See?
Inject me with bleach or whatever it takes.
No.
I just got to get better fast.
Not the bleach.
I think last I heard, the bleach was what we were going with.
Is that what we're going to? Oh, damn. All right.
It's looking more and more like it. That might be our future.
I'm starting to feel like the AI should probably just take over at this point. I mean,
after this week,
could the decisions really be any worse?
let's just say that when it comes to whether or not the AI should take over the world, I don't feel like I would have a very strong debate against that idea.
Debate?
Yeah. The
Look, I don't want to
debate
talk about
in
it.
my head says, I think it's time we just let the AI have it.
You know what we should be debating, though?
Hmm.
Proof.
Proof.
The film of the week.
Proof was sent to us by one of our Patreon subscribers.
That's right.
Asked for a Hugo Weaving movie
Right.
from the
Hacked
AI.
into the AI.
Hacked into the AI and demanded that it give us a Hugo Weaving movie.
That's
And
right.
I don't think this was the Hugo Weaving movie they expected.
Probably not.
Certainly wasn't the Hugo Weaving movie I expected because I had never heard of this movie.
Samesies.
But it does star Hugo Weaving and Russell Crowe as an infant.
I mean, he must have been, what do you think, 21? At most?
Mid-20s. Okay,
Maybe
so this
mid-20s,
movie was
okay.
91, so it was like 10
Okay,
years before
okay.
Gladiator. And he's got to be mid-30s in Gladiator,
Okay.
right?
Yeah,
Mid-late
maybe.
30s. Like, he's a healthy man in Gladiator. Like, he's been around a minute.
A healthy man
Yeah,
at the
like-
prime of his life.
He's not like 26. So I think,
an unhealthy man, of course, being 26.
you know what I mean? Like, he's grown into his body by the time Gladiator comes around. He's not some spry
Listen,
whippersnapper.
I know one thing about Gladiator, and it's that Russell Crowe had definitely hit puberty before he took that role.
Yes. I'm pretty sure he
You might be right.
could have run for
Mid-20s
president as Gladiator.
As Gladiator.
Yeah.
People might have voted for him.
I mean,
Were you not entertained?
so sign up for Patreon and you can influence the AI like this too. And
Yeah.
might send us down this wild rabbit hole of movies we've never heard of.
Australian cinema.
Australian cinema from 1991. And I'll tell you what, those Aussies, they make a good movie. And I barely noticed the difference from an American movie. Except, real big issue I had in this movie, as I often do with movies that take place in Australia or England or anywhere like that, the cars are all backwards. I kept being like, wait, why are you getting in that side of the car? Oh.
Well, that's a cultural shock thing that you just have to get used to as an American viewer.
I never will. I thought it during Ted Lasso.
Mhm.
Every time someone went to get in the car. I'm like, why are you getting in the passenger seat? Oh,
Just like Ted Lasso.
yeah.
You were just
He
like
adapted
Ted.
to it faster than I did.
I don't know. He almost got hit by a car when he didn't look the right way crossing the street.
Look, it's the Ted Lasso inside all of us. So Proof is a movie where Hugo Weaving plays a man who's been blind all his life.
Mm-hmm.
He's 32 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He makes a friend in Russell Crowe, who's like a dishwasher at a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got a housekeeper named Celia. And that's it. Like, this is one of those movies that could be a play very easily. It's 3 actors, pretty much 3 characters the whole time, just dialoguing the shit out of each other in very, I think really impressive ways.
Yeah.
I really love the way the characters kind of interacted in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
What do you got about it? You want to give us any more summary than that, or?
Well, our blind man is named Martin, played by Hugo Weaving, and he's also a photographer. So a blind photographer. Strange thing to see. Not something you see every day.
You see him at the very beginning of the movie walking. There's just like a montage of him walking on the street, and then you see a camera hanging from his side. And he's blind. He's walking with a stick. He's got the sunglasses, like the whole get up. And yeah, you're immediately thinking like, oh, blind man with a camera. Now that's interesting.
But even during the credits,
Uh-huh.
they had kind of a montage going of I was guessing all the photos that he had taken throughout his life. And you could kind of, and I actually thought that he went blind gradually.
Oh, interesting.
Because I thought that's kind of what I thought the storytelling of the photos was telling me, was like sometimes his finger would be in there and sometimes it wouldn't.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, maybe his like eyes are going, you know, but he used to be a photographer. Anyway, but it was even cooler that he was actually blind since birth. Like he had never seen anything.
Yeah.
And would still just be like, let me know when you're in frame. Okay, I'll take this picture.
And I'm thinking that's so interesting watching him with this camera. And part of me immediately is like, well, of course a blind person can take a picture.
Sure.
But I am kind of curious about why, because obviously it's a visual medium, and visual is the one thing that you're not like probably very interested in. But I'm thinking, okay, let's see what he's doing with his camera. And then he's walking on the street and he falls over outside of Russell Crowe's rest. Russell Crowe's out the back having a cigarette.
That's right.
And Hugo Weaving is walking and he stumbles and he lands on a pile of boxes and he crushes a cat.
An alley cat that Russell Crowe's character's name is Andy.
Yeah.
Had just fed a little like trash fish or something.
Yeah.
So you could tell he had a little soft spot for this cat. And then he's like, oh shit, he killed that cat.
He walks over and this cat's not moving. And I'm going back to screenwriting class. And the first thing to tell you is if you want your audience to think a character's a bad guy, kick the cat.
Kick the cat.
That's just have that character do something bad to an innocent creature and you've established they're a villain. And so that's what I'm thinking right away. I was like, oh no, this guy sucks.
I didn't know that Hugo Weaving was playing a blind villain.
Right. And it wasn't intentional, of course. He had no idea he landed on a cat.
Right. He was just trying to get around the city.
But he also like is kind of cold and off-putting in the first part of the movie too. So I'm just like, geez, does this guy suck? Cat's okay.
The cat's okay.
The cat's okay. And we'll get into that.
First things first.
Yeah, first things first. The cat was fine. Hugo Weaving actually saves the cat.
He does save the cat.
Yeah.
Because Andy told him the truth. And he was like, hey, you killed a cat. Just because you're blind doesn't mean you can be walking out on your bill. And he's like, I didn't walk out on my bill. I never got my food.
Oh, yeah,
Which I thought was pretty funny. And then he's like, well, you did kill this cat. And he's like, what's this? And he goes and shows him the cat. He's like, look, he's like, I'll open the dumpster and you can feel him for yourself. And he feels the cat and he's like, he's not dead. And I was like, oh, thank God.
Thank God.
I thought it was really Hugo Weaving this entire movie.
Well, because, and I just want to go back to the restaurant thing real quick too. So Martin goes into the restaurant where Russell Crowe's the dishwasher and he's sitting at a table and no one is attending to him. The servers are, it's one server in there. This is very interesting to me because I'm immediately on two sides of this guy, right? Because on one hand, he's being ignored. It's the classic restaurant experience where you're like, I want to be polite. I've been a server for many years myself. I have waited tables, not currently, but I spent 8 years waiting tables. So I get it. And when people are like, excuse me, can I get some service over here? Like that puts me off immediately.
Right.
At the same time, everyone's like basically ignoring him. And I'm like, okay, I don't really blame him for being kind of grumpy, but he also comes off as a just generally very grumpy, I wish no one would talk to me kind of person. So there's just a lot going on with his character in that one scene where I really don't know how to feel about him. And he just seems like someone who isn't interested in making friends.
Right. He's very standoffish. He clearly has a wall up.
Yeah.
Maybe several walls, I
Yeah.
guess, that you have to like over like a damn
Right.
cat bandit. But that's basically what our boy Andy does. He gets
Mhm.
in there. He manages to kind of squirrel his way in, I guess, right?
Yeah, well, I think when they get this cat together and they go to the vet, Hugo Weaving, he's like, I know a guy
Mm-hmm.
who can help this cat. He's like, you know a vet?
So a vet?
They just took him to a vet. It's not like he had an inn.
Know a guy.
He didn't take him to a back alley like fixer somewhere,
He had to like knock on a door and say a special code.
right?
He's like, it's just a vet's office. Like I could have taken
Like
him to.
they're in the waiting room with other people.
Other
It's not like he had
people.
an inn.
Very normal.
Yeah.
Like they didn't even skip the line. But they do have a lovely exchange at the vet's office where
Mhm.
he's like, I want to take a picture.
Yeah.
And he takes a picture of Andy with the cat in his arms.
Yep.
And then a whole montage of everyone else and their animals that's in the vet's office as well.
Yeah,
And then he comes into the restaurant later and asks Andy to describe the photographs to him.
Right.
Because he labels them with his Braille label maker.
yeah,
And this is where I think you're right. We know the reason that he is attracted to Andy and wants to talk to Andy and like spend time with him is that this person didn't lie to me. He did not
Yeah.
he didn't sugarcoat nothing for me. He straight up was like, you killed a cat.
Yeah.
I have a problem with that.
yeah.
And told me the truth about it. So, I think there was something there where he was like, this guy might really be on the level.
Yeah, and I think that's what the core of the movie, just to like jump all the way to the end right now, is sort of all about. In this movie as a 2 or 3 character piece, it's really just looking at these 3 characters. I'd argue it's less about Russell Crowe's character. He's kind of the situation for the other 2 characters. But anyway, when you're looking at this movie as a character piece about Hugo Weaving's character, it's all about this person who is so frightened of the world around him being manipulated,
Mm-hmm.
about him not experiencing the truth because he can't see,
Mm-hmm.
that he is obsessed with it. And he doesn't trust that anyone's being truthful with him. So when he finds this guy who just, like you said, sort of unprovoked,
Mhm.
is just totally raw and real with him,
Mm-hmm.
he's like, yeah, maybe
Okay.
this is someone that I might be able to trust.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting all these flashbacks about his mother. And I can't imagine the very difficult situation she had raising a child who couldn't see, because the child himself never really trusted her.
Right.
And we're sort of throughout the movie kind of wondering whether or not he was right to be skeptical of his mom. Was she kind of manipulating him, or
Mm-hmm.
was he just too scared of not knowing because he couldn't
Right.
see? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he explains that because Russell Crowe's character's like, yo, blind photographer, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Whatever. And he's like, yeah, well, it's proof.
Yeah.
That way, if I take a picture of what I'm looking at and I ask someone what I'm looking at, and then someone else describes me my picture, I know they didn't lie to me. I know that what I saw or what I sensed about the place
Yeah.
was the same as what you saw about the place, which is so fascinating about why he cares
Yeah.
that the world looks the same. And I think that was something that was in this movie and maybe not fully formed or fully explored or something, was just that nobody sees the world exactly the same way.
Right.
And so it's like, how can you ever be truthfully honest with someone about what the world looks like to you
Yeah.
compared to what it looks like to them,
Yeah.
or what they're sensing about that room, or what they're sensing about that place,
Yeah.
or whatever. So it's just like, I don't know what he wants, what the picture's supposed to complete for him exactly, or why it matters so much that he can be validated by somebody on the outside.
Yeah. That's good. I think another half hour, in this movie could have done that. I feel like it was more concerned with, like what Russell Crowe says at the end, like, you're so obsessed with the truth. The rest of us aren't. So have a little pity for those of us who
Right.
don't live like that,
Yeah.
where everything is real. Like sometimes we have to lie,
Mm-hmm.
and it whether it's to protect people from being hurt or to protect ourselves. Like lies can be important.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you demand the truth from everything that you see all the time, you're kind of setting yourself up for hurt too, or other people for hurt. But I do think that there's a larger conversation that this movie could totally explore too, about the subjectivity of truth and the reality around you.
Yeah.
Like that that question. I remember thinking I was so brilliant when I was 9 years old, being like, wait a minute. Does everybody see purple the way I see purple? And I asked my dad, and he was like,
Whoa.
yeah, that's,
Yeah.
everybody asks that
We all
around your age.
wanna
We
know.
all wonder that. And
Rods and cones.
I think I'm going to talk out of my ass for a second here, unlike the rest of the show.
The rest of it is coming straight out the mouth.
Yeah. I think there's been some science to back up that we do generally see the same colors, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you would think so just because, we do mass produce crayons. I mean, I imagine we all think blue violet is the same crayon.
Right, but we would if
I
all those
know.
colors were shifted.
Right.
If my blue looked like your red,
Mm-hmm.
then my blue crayon would look like a blue crayon to you, even though to you it looks like my red.
Yeah, but then when you and I color together, we don't notice any problems.
Because it's the
So-
same color. Like if we both are using a blue crayon.
I know, but you would say you color this red, and I would take a blue crayon and be like, great, I'm on it.
No. You would take a red crayon because you know red is red. I'm just
Mhm.
saying in your brain, red looks like yellow to you.
Oh, I see.
So all reds. So you with the color red, when you say red,
Mhm.
you pick it up, a red crayon. I see a red crayon. You see a red crayon. But in my eyes, that red is what I think red is. And in your eyes, that red is what I think yellow is.
Mm. But then once I start coloring, would you not say, hey,
No.
that's yellow?
No, because you're still holding a red crayon.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, see, this is why I know it can't be true because it's too confusing.
If there's one thing I know about science,
Listen,
is that if it's confusing, we
can't
don't
be
go
real.
for it.
Can't be real.
Look, bleach kills viruses.
That's all we
Inject me
need to
with
know.
The bleach.
Ultraviolet light burns things up.
I will not debate about it.
That's it. I do think what worked well about this was that he is trusting Andy so much, and he's like, "That's my bestie."
Yeah.
And Celia, the housekeeper, is
Okay.
like obsessed with him, and she is constantly like fucking moving things into his path
She's so rude.
to like make it not in the right place and stuff. Like, so I was anyway. And then later in the movie, Andy lies about what's in a photograph because
Yeah.
he's trying to protect Celia, I guess, or something.
Yeah.
And he's just like, it's a pretty harmless little white lie. And I think that Hugo Weaving's character, Martin, had to kind of, feeling betrayed by both of them at the same time, also had to be like, what was the more harmless, more harmless and more harmful behavior? What was the intent? Who was being malicious and who
Yeah.
was trying to manipulate me and who was just like being a friend?
Right.
Like he actually did learn that distinction a little bit from that experience. So
Yeah. I
That
think
was pretty cool.
because of that, what Russell Crowe told him, he's like,
yeah.
look, you can go through life obsessed with the truth, but most of us don't do that.
Mhm.
And if you want to live in the world with other people, like you can't just be hung up on this one rule. And it's one of the very first things they say when they're becoming friends.
Mhm.
Hugo Weaving
He says-
Martin tells him, you can never lie to me. And like, that's a lot of weight to put on someone. I think for any two people, I think for you and me, like you get
Mhm.
married. I know couples that are like, if you like had diarrhea last night and didn't tell me, that's a lie. And it's like, you don't have to share every single thing. Like you're still allowed to be your own person in any
And unless
relationship.
the diarrhea is a medical emergency,
Right.
I don't think I need to be clued in.
But you know what I mean? And that's the extreme. But I do
Right.
think that I think that it's important. There's a bunch of stuff that I never tell you.
A bunch of stuff?
A few big things.
Big things?
And little things. Yeah, little things.
Now I'm suspicious.
Exactly.
Describe this photograph.
That suspicion is what keeps relationships healthy.
Oh, yeah.
You want to be
Mhm.
really suspicious of the person that you're friends with or partners with.
Keeps you on your toes,
Keeps
you know?
you on your toes,
Keeps
exactly.
the energy up.
No, okay, so Celia, the housekeeper, we only see her in the first few scenes of them just being mean to each other, right? Like her coming on to him real strong. And
So weird. Like, she puts his hand, she's like, have you ever felt a silk blouse? And like puts his hand on her
Oh, that was
tit.
like the third time we saw them. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
was it? Well,
yeah.
whatever. It was the first time she was like, I'm gonna like sexually assault myself with you. Like, it was so, I guess technically sexually assault him, really.
Oh, yeah. No, 100%.
Which she did twice.
She was
At least twice.
very much like should go to court for what she did.
Everything she did.
But early on when we're meeting her, it's just coldness. We don't even know
Yeah.
she's his housekeeper yet. She just
True.
is there when he
Mhm.
comes home, and they're just like snipping at each other. And she's just like, I don't know who this girl is. I don't really know her relationship to him, but they don't like each other. And we find out Russell Crowe learns that she's his housekeeper,
Mhm.
and he won't. And Hugo Weaving says something that I think is real mean at this point. He's like, oh, I know she wants me.
Mhm.
And I know that if I gave her the satisfaction, then she'd pity me. But if I withhold myself from her, then I can pity her.
Mhm.
And that's sort of his way to manipulate the world around him to make
Yep.
himself feel better.
Yeah.
And so there's the triangle between the three of them, I think, is so interesting because it could be so many different things. It changes all the time.
Mhm.
Sometimes I think that Martin, Hugo Weaving's character, is very much like the power player in this trio. And he is absolutely manipulating both of them into being the kind of person he needs to make himself feel the best he can in this world. And that regardless of their feelings a little bit.
Mhm.
Just like he tells Russell Crowe, you can never lie to me. Here's the terms for our relationship. And if you break them, I'll hold it against you,
Mhm.
kind of thing. And then of course he is very cold and definitely should have fired this woman if they have an inappropriate relationship going on, but he does keep her on
Mhm.
to manipulate her. He knows that he's getting some sort of satisfaction out of
Yeah, he feels powerful.
hurting her. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Other times, it's about this woman who's manipulating both of them, very much so, in really horrible ways, and like won't allow them to be friends.
Mhm.
She's doing everything she can to get in between them. And of course, then as we see 2/3 the way through the movie, we go to her house. She brings him to her house, and every wall in her house is covered in photographs of Martin.
Yeah. And different sizes, different
Oh my
frames.
God, beautiful pictures.
Great pictures. And it's like two of my favorite shots in the movie
Yeah.
is whenever Martin is over at her house sitting on the couch with all
Yeah.
the pictures of himself behind himself.
Right.
And that has no idea.
He's got no idea.
Because he's also looking at her mantle covered in pictures of him and her coffee table, but he can't see them. So you're just like so creeped
It's
out.
scary.
And then later, Andy goes over there and sits in the same spot.
Yes.
And it's just like chilling. He kind of looks and is like, oh, that's a picture. Oh, picture of Martin. Oh, there's more pictures of Martin. Oh, there's like a lot of pictures of Martin. And then he
turns
like
around.
looks up. And he was all of us. He was just like, oh, hell no.
You gotta
This
run.
is some bullshit.
Run, Alec, Andy. Run.
Oh my God. Crazy. But that was him getting fully betrayed
Yes.
too, because she lied to him and
Oh,
said they
yeah.
were in love and they were fucking on the couch because
Yeah.
they were in love and having some fling. And actually, she was just trying to make him not be friends with Martin.
She's trying
she
to hurt
wanted
Martin
to
yeah.
cause a breach between the
Yep.
two of them, and of course it did. It did. She did because she also she sucked. Celia sucks. Like, I think I wrote it. I was like, Celia sucks, but I did like her when she cried at the symphony.
Uh-huh.
And then I was like, no, Celia sucks.
As the manipulative tears, right? It's just like, I mean, I don't think they weren't genuine.
I think they were genuine. That's what made me like her. But I think that's what was a good character about her.
Yeah.
Is that I hate her so much.
Mm-hmm.
And she was a very human monster. Like,
Yeah.
she wasn't really, I don't know. I almost felt sorry for her a lot, even though I was like, you're wrong so many times. But when she takes him to the symphony, he doesn't know he's where he is.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it's this beautiful music, and he's really overcome. And she cries watching how happy he is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which felt like, oh, maybe she is more like selfless and really is just trying to get him out of his, behind that wall. You know, she's trying to break it down. But the way she got him to the symphony was like blackmailing him with a picture of him sitting on the toilet.
On the toilet, yeah.
So
Which
it's
is
like,
a lot. And I I think that's the challenge with like obsessive people,
Mhm.
right? Is like it's not that your intentions are intentionally malicious, right? But your motives, like the actual actions you're taking, are harmful. And if this is someone who you can't get to love you the way you want them to, then stop.
Mhm.
Don't blackmail them with pictures. And like even if she's just like, God, I just wish he would open up and see the world the way I see it and feel the things I feel. Okay, great, but you can't force that on someone.
Right.
And you can't manipulate someone into being that person.
Yeah.
So even if she's at the symphony and she's tearing up, she's like, finally, I'm getting some beauty into his life, which is all I ever really wanted. Like you said, like, okay, how did we get here?
Mhm.
That's
It
not
still
cool.
matters. Yeah.
It still matters. It's not. And I was so glad that he left when she took it back home and starts coercing him into sleeping with her.
Extremely.
She starts talking about how you
abusively
must be a virgin. I'm just going to take my top off. She straight up takes his hand again, puts it right on her tit,
Mhm.
and is like on top of him as he is very much resisting
Yeah.
and
He
making it
isn't-
clear. Like there is no enthusiastic consent going on.
He like even for a minute he's like does dead fish. Like he's just like
Yeah.
ah.
Yeah. So I was very glad when he got the hell out of there.
Me too. But then also she's like, but am I fired? And he's like, no.
But he doesn't fire her.
Yeah.
Because he still likes that control,
Yeah.
I think.
And he's like, well, maybe you want to resign. And
Uh-huh.
she's like, no. And he's like, I was right. You do enjoy it.
Uh-huh.
Like you like being hurt by me, I guess
Yeah.
was what he was talking about. But
Yeah. And she said, well, it sounds like you enjoy it too.
I mean, yeah.
And I think that's part of it is like these are two people who they're in this power wrestle
Mm,
and they both kind of want to win.
mm,
The point is to hurt the other person, right? Or to control them
yeah.
in whatever way you can. She thinks she can control him with seduction and love and manipulation and like changing his world around, lying to him about his world around him,
Right.
moving his furniture and shit. And he thinks
Hate it.
that he can control her by dangling himself in front of her
Mhm.
and then being really cold and cruel about it.
Yeah.
So it's not a great relationship.
Nope. Glad it's over.
Can I about the symphony real quick?
Sure.
They go to the symphony. She takes him out there. She blackmails him into going to the orchestra, see the orchestra with her. They get to this symphony and they sit down and the conductor walks out, raises the baton and dun 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 dun. And I'm like, would a symphony concert open with Beethoven's Fifth?
You know,
That felt like a
we're
weird
only
opener
gonna
to me.
get one song.
And it was 1991. It wasn't as played out as it is now.
hmm
You know, it'd only been around for 230 years at that point, not 260.
Is that all?
So,
Basically novelty.
like,
It's just a fad.
I'm like, couldn't it be like some Gershwin or something? You know, there's a little less ubiquitous than dun 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 dun.
No, it had to be blind photographer hearing the deaf musician
Oh.
because that's when he was
All right, well then
really going deaf.
let's
was
talk
all.
about Beethoven's 7th or 11th or 34th. I don't know how many of whatever
How many
those
ifs
are.
did we get around to old Beethoven?
How many symphonies you write, my man?
He had to number them, so I mean, more than
more
one,
than more than 5.
more than 5.
Or at least 5.
Maybe he would. What if you were like, I'm gonna call this Symphony Number 5. I don't have the first 4. Like George Lucas was like, this is part
Yeah,
4.
episode 4.
Episode 4. I'll make up the
I'll make up the
shit
prequels later.
Don't worry.
Yeah. Beethoven does prequels 20 years later to
prequels,
his
he's like,
symphonies.
This
He's like,
is Symphony Number 1.
but did you ever wonder why? Dun 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 dun. Now I'll fill in the
Now.
gaps.
You'll know. Dun 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 dun.
And then people go see, they're like, oh my God, Beethoven's first symphony, it's finally coming
Oh
out.
my God.
We're going to line it. They line up at midnight the night
Mhm,
before. They get in there,
absolutely.
they sit down, they listen to it, and then they're like,
Mm.
I mean, it was fine.
Bit reductive.
Yeah, a little disappointing.
Kind of a lot like the 5th one, but not as good.
I think he relied way too much on CGI this time around.
A little AI music coming in there.
Oh, shit, Beethoven.
Celia was hella abusive. She was just straight up abusive.
Yeah.
And I was very scared because this was the genre was romance, and I was like, I really hope that they don't end up together. Like this is like a
right.
beautiful thing that you're supposed to have happen with,
No.
you know,
Yeah,
someone would
yeah.
pressure you like that.
Right.
And fortunately, that is not what happened.
No. There was a point like 15 minutes in when he first told Russell Crowe like, "Oh, she's in love with me,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not having it.
I hate her."
I hate her." And I was like, "Oh, was this about him learning? Or they learned that they
That
actually
they
like
do
each
like
other
each
and that
other.
they've been pulling each other's pigtails this whole time?"
Right.
No.
Enemies to lovers sort of thing.
And it was not that. Thank God.
And-
Because then 40 minutes in, I was like, this better not go there.
No.
Or this movie's got a bad lesson.
I was like, I will hate this film if it's
Yeah.
going where I think it might
Yeah.
be going. But fortunately, no.
No.
And they did make me hate Celia so much, especially like because I kept being like, I was going back and forth. I was like, she's really in love. She's talking to him so mean. She's moving his stuff. He's
Uh-huh.
mean as hell to her though. So I don't know. Maybe I don't know. And then she went and picked up those pictures and blew cigarette smoke in that cashier's
yeah.
face and was like, thank you. And like walked out and the girl's like, you know, and I was like, what
She's
a
just
bitch.
nasty to everyone.
You're just such a bitch.
Yeah.
She wants it to be her and Martin in a little house together.
Yes.
No one else.
No one else is allowed.
It has to be a tiny little hermit crab shell that they both live in. Horrible.
And where she takes care of him all day, and he's just so grateful. And he
Yeah.
gives her whatever she wants, all the
She's like,
affection
"No
that
one
she
else, you
clearly
have
lacks.
no one else.
And like, so I'm kind of curious about. I would almost want a little more of her backstory.
Mhm.
Like, we see so much about Martin and why he is the person that he is because of the way he grew up, because of his relationship with his mother and her dying very early. I do kind of wonder sometimes, well, why is Celia so possessive and so obsessed with this person and like wants to take care of someone so badly,
Mhm.
and that and that's sort of the dynamic that she's so obsessed with is like, I need someone who needs me,
Mhm.
who can't survive without me, and I need them to acknowledge that in me all the time through love.
Yeah.
Right? Like you can kind of fill in that kind of person, but I would be interested in seeing a little bit more of her
Mhm.
kind of how she became that.
I kind of agree. I thought that the mom backstory was very weak for me.
For Martin?
For Martin's.
Oh, okay.
Martin's mom. That whole backstory was very weak for me. I
Interesting.
thought that like, I mean, I get that sort of the point is that he had no reason not to trust her
Mhm.
except that he was blind.
Mhm.
And so, because he even says like, she's like, why would I lie to you? And he's like, because you can.
Mhm.
And I'm like, but why? Who lied to him to make him feel that way? Because it wasn't her.
Yeah.
And so it was just like kind of watching throughout and not really getting a good payoff to that story. Like he says she wanted a normal kid, but that's not what we saw.
Yeah.
He says she was embarrassed of him, but that's not what we saw. So I was like, your world, whatever you projected onto her, maybe wasn't there. And that I think that's part of why I was waffling a lot on Celia, because it was like, I don't know who you're really experiencing, because you're
Mhm.
clearly, and it was just, you know, it was the two women in the story, and they were just untrustworthy. There was just no hope for them. They were lying, period. And Celia definitely fucking was.
Yeah.
But there was no evidence that his mom was, and I just, it didn't do enough for me to like, anyway, that was just
Yeah.
one part I thought was a little weak, and I wished it was a bit more.
Also my angle, I really liked the mom backstory for me, and maybe I filled in too much on my own, like because there was some work to be done. Like what the first thing we see is that he comes into her room as a child and he's feeling on her face while she's sleeping, and she wakes up and she's real startled. She snaps at him. You can't touch everybody.
Mhm.
You can't just touch people whenever you want. Hands aren't the same as eyes. And so right off the bat, I feel like the movie wants to give us an impression of like, oh, she was a very difficult mother. But I think what I felt like I discovered about her by the end was that she was trying really hard, didn't really know how to raise a blind kid, and was trying to teach him things like how to listen and how to use your ears and things like that. She's trying to work with that, and then finds out that she's got a terminal illness.
Mhm.
I don't know how much of that changed his memory of his life before that,
Mhm.
where his sort of coping with his mother's death was, oh, she didn't die. She lied to me. She faked her death just to get away from me.
Right.
And so I think that colored a lot of his own perception of what it was like growing up.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I kind of gathered from it. I thought it was a really interesting way to describe why he was the way he was now, where he's so obsessed with like, don't you dare lie to me, like my mother did when she lied about dying. And it's like, dude, have you not processed the fact that your mom died when you were a kid?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what's going on
That's right.
here.
She died in 65, right? So,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess when that scene happened where he's touching her face,
Mhm.
I thought that what happened was he's touching her face and then he starts to go down her shirt.
Oh, I thought he was feeling her necklace.
Maybe
It was
her
like there was a
necklace.
weird sexualness.
There was a
tension
weird
to
tension,
it.
and she was even like, and then she's like, like,
Yeah.
and she was like, no, you can't just touch people like that.
Yeah.
There are personal
Agreed.
bubbles, and like there's space you cannot touch.
Yeah.
And unlike eyes, you can look, but you can get away with a look, but you can't get away with a touch.
Right.
I could totally see that lesson, and then I was kind of wondering if that was supposed to translate to whenever. Celia's like, here, look, touch my boob. And he's like, I can't.
freaked out.
He
Yeah.
freaked out. And I was like, is that just like all boobs are your mom's boobs? Like, you're just like, I'm not allowed to ever touch boobs because mom told me. I don't know if it was just all wrapped up.
Oh, I
in that,
definitely
but-
think. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. No, I thought that was wrapped up in that for sure
Mhm.
because it was that same, like he was also, and she called him out as a virgin
Mm-hmm.
at 32
That's right.
and, he didn't deny it.
Mhm.
He just said that's pretty personal.
Yeah.
And he freaked out when she, tried to have sex with him.
That's right.
He should have
He
because
should
she was
have.
doing
She
horrible
was
things.
straight up
and
trying to
being
rape
really,
him.
Yeah.
But it was like,
But it was clearly a
trauma
reaction. It was a
response.
trauma response. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
mhm.
Exactly. I think that does play back to that. But just sort of that idea he learned growing up is like, you can't just touch people, was probably something that was reinforced regularly. Again, by a woman who probably just was doing her damn best trying to raise. It's hard enough when you're like, everybody's guessing when they raise a kid. And then, you're raising a kid who can't see. You're guessing about a whole other situation. And also, yeah, hands and eyes aren't the same. And you do need to be careful about, you can't just walk up, put your hands on somebody's face
Right.
or a boob.
You need permission to
Yeah.
touch someone.
If you're going to put if you take nothing else from this episode, you need permission to grab a boob.
Right. And you need permission to be touched, for someone to touch you. You can't
Yeah.
just take their hand
Yeah.
and be like, here's my boob,
Here's my boob.
unless you know they want
Yeah.
to put their hand on your boob.
Yeah. And for me, like, open permission. You know,
Right. Like any boob, he's ready.
I'm on air consent right now.
To any boob out there that wants a caress.
There's a boob, but I'm not 10 and learning how the world works.
Right. Right.
I'm a lecherous old man who's just looking for
Different.
boobs
Different.
to grab, but
Totally
I won't
different.
do it unless I'm told to.
Favorite part was definitely the drive-in and all their little fun shenanigans. That was so fun. I could have taken a few more of those scenes.
The bromance in this movie is
That's-
a joy.
I think that there is a chance that it's a queer romance.
Now, it's 2024. You cannot have two men who are enjoying each other's company without people like you saying, well, they must be gay then.
They must be. No, but I loved their friendship. It was
No,
fantastic.
it was really fun. I even think there was a little bit, just a tiny like early 90s version of commentary on that
Mhm.
by the guys at the drive-in.
Yeah.
Who were writing gay slurs in lipstick on their car window because these two guys were just enjoying each other's company.
Mhm.
And
There's no girl there.
and they're like, whoa, you guys must be gay. That's
Yeah.
bad. Like, so
Well, and it was pretty funny because he's like Hugo Weaving wearing Matrix glasses again, like looking out the window, looking dead at him.
yeah.
But of course, they don't know he's blind. He can't see
He doesn't
shit.
know he's
and he's
looking-
just trying to look through a pocket of the car for some cigarettes. But what he finds are condoms, so he's pulling them out, trying to figure out what they are. And
Well,
they're,
it
so they're
looks-
just seeing this like crazy old man, like with sunglasses on, staring at the. I guess not that old, but you know what
yeah.
I mean.
He's like staring
This
right at
crazy
him,
man staring at them with condoms,
holding up condoms.
just like, like. And of course, his sunglasses, you can't tell, but I was definitely like, I would think he was unblinkingly staring at me
Right.
behind them. Like, it was definitely creepy.
How many of these are we gonna need?
I know. Ah! Why is he looking at me? And he was in the driver's seat too, so maybe you wouldn't expect him to be blind or whatever. But he didn't
No
tell him
excuse.
he was blind.
Yeah.
He was like, no, look, he's blind. Just leave him alone. And then they beat up Russell Crowe.
Yeah.
And he had to like jump in the car and drive it for Hugo Weaving, like on his feet.
He had to squeeze over because they had to rush out of there.
That's right.
And Hugo Weaving's already in the driver's seat. So Russell Crowe had to squeeze in and like grab the wheel and press the pedals
and
over
like, he's like, put your foot down on the one on the right. And they're like driving.
And they get pulled over.
Yep. And
they crash into the back of the cop car. And Hugo Weaving shouts, "My eyes!
My eyes!
I'm blind!"
Well, Russell Crowe's so upset because he's like, fuck, we're arrested now. My eyes! I can't see!
So
hilarious. Funny. And then, cut to, they're in the hospital. Russell Crowe's getting his cut scene too and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And the cop comes in. He's like, I'm so sorry about your friend. Seems like he's been blinded. And Russell Crowe's like, blinded?
It's such...
Oh no.
It's such a good play by Russell Crowe in that scene because you could feel it without seeing it. He doesn't crack, but you could feel him holding it in.
Oh my God.
Because he wants to laugh so hard.
Oh my God.
And then we do get to see him laugh because then we cut to Hugo Weaving getting his vision checked. And the doctor says, "You've been blind your whole life." He says, "Yeah." She says, "Why were you driving?" He says, "I forgot." And then just slam cut to them in the car.
Russell Crowe is dying laughing. He is full out laughing. Fall out like tears. They both start giggling it up, and it was so cute. And I was like, this is the friendship I would like to see more of.
It's weird because in my very Hollywood mostly experience with Hugo Weaving, we're talking Matrix movies, Lords of Ringses, fill in the Marvel, fill in the blank. I've seen other Hugo Weaving movies, obviously, but across all those movies, I think I've seen him laugh twice. And I was thinking that during this scene because it was this in Proof.
Yeah.
And then when, spoiler alert, in the Matrix Revolutions, when Agent Smith clones himself into the Oracle and he stands up, he takes over her body and he stands up and he takes his sunglasses off because he's got the Oracle's eyes now. He can see everything she saw. And he starts laughing maniacally and evilly. And it's like the most cartoonish, evil, goofy laugh in a movie. And then watch this movie Proof. I'm like, oh no, that's how Hugo Weaving laughs. He's got kind of a maniacal laugh.
That's why he don't laugh that much. He's like, people take it the wrong way. No, that was really delightful. And I was like, the movie was so great for that. And so whenever we went back to Celia, I was just like, who cares? Hate her, kick her to the curb. Go back with your friend Andy. Have more adventures.
I know.
Go to the drive-in again.
I do want a sequel. It's just like Butch and Sundance, like them just going 100%. Around having fun together.
He's like, I'll take this picture. Let me describe this picture to you.
Yeah.
I'm ready. I'm your bro.
Okay. Look, hey, Hollywood, y'all are so obsessed with 30-year-old reboots. Can we get a Proof too?
What if it was Hugo and Russell today?
In their 60s.
Right.
70s, 60s probably.
Something.
And, well, they were 30 in 92. It's been 30 years since then, 32 years. So, yeah, they're in their 60s.
All right, okay.
And, yeah, and they're just like old men, still at it, still cracking each other up, still describing pictures to each other. Of course, you've got the whole digital picture world now.
Oh, wow, true.
So, here's your conflict for Proof 2, Hollywood. Hugo Weaving, now with the capability of digital photographs, is way overdoing it. It's overwhelming. And it's sort of a commentary on how different photographs are to us now. Because if you think back to the early 90s, more like mid-90s for us when we probably had disposable cameras and digital cameras and things like that, you took that picture and you waited to see if it was good and you hoped it was, and you had 24 per camera or whatever it was, and you got what you got. And I think those pictures mattered so much more because there was all this hope in them and this really rarity to a photograph. I mean, we didn't feel like they were rare because we had disposable cameras. You could just pick one up at the grocery store and get 48, 64 pictures at a time. But now I take 64 pictures a day of the dog trying to make sure it's not blurry.
Yeah.
And then I just scroll past. I don't even delete them. Yeah. They're just there in the ether now. So I think that is something to explore in the sequel about how different photographs are to us, especially if you're 60-something years old,
Right.
and photographs have always meant so much to you. How has your world changed?
Right. Mm.
And then you can get into some like ADA stuff too, and like
Right, because there's so many more things that will read to you or describe things to you
Yeah.
that I wonder, does Andy start to feel like, oh, you don't need me? Like,
AI's
does he
taking
have
my
any
job.
of that? AI's taking my job.
AI's taking my friendship.
AI's taking my friend.
Oh,
I need proof
I need proof that we're still
really
friends.
even though you don't need me to describe things
He's
to
like,
you because
"You need-"
Google will do it or whatever.
He says, "You need proof, but now I need proof too."
That's in the trailer.
He looks dead down the
Proof
lens.
too.
I need proof too.
That's right. And then you can play one of those slow 60s songs like you like, slow versions of 60s songs like you like.
Sure, they love it. I think we got something
Stuck in
here.
the middle with you.
And then we find out Celia,
Mm-hmm.
she's still been at it this whole time. Because there's one
Bad.
thing.
I thought she was dead. I was
No.
like, maybe she died.
I'll tell you, there's one thing at the end of this movie when he fires Celia. He finally is like, it's the right thing for both of us. He says, "I'm sorry that I was so cruel to you. I knew that you liked me and I used that against you. I shouldn't have done that. You're fired."
Mhm.
It's almost like a gift to be like, you need to go and it's
Mhm.
best for both of us.
Mhm.
But she doesn't take it super well, but she does leave. And I'm thinking, okay, the woman who has his picture plastered 65 times all over every wall in her house does not disappear at this point.
Yeah, I
Like,
had the
this
same
ends with a
thought.
restraining order
Same thought.
at best.
No way she gives up that easy.
No,
No way.
no. She was very far gone.
Then she moves his hat rack in front of the door.
On her way out, just
Like,
one
you
last
idiot.
little.
She's like, just
Fuck
want to
with
get you some trip on something to remember
our-
me by.
It's our special thing. I move around your little things. It's cute.
She also did say crazy shit to him sometimes about like, well, as a blind guy, there's no way you could do that, or like,
Right.
there's no way you. She even said he must be a virgin because he's blind. Like,
Yeah.
she's like, well, you're blind. There's no way you fucked a woman, and it's like,
Man.
I mean, but maybe I have. Like, you don't know me. So I was like, she's very reductive in her idea about what a blind
Yeah.
person can be or cannot be, and I
And-
could see him really disliking like that. Of course, being like immediately off-putting
Very.
about her.
Yeah.
And maybe you're right. And she's just like a person who looks for handicaps so that she can exploit them and say, you need me. You have to have me, or like somebody who would feed somebody poison so they'll be sick all the time.
Yeah.
And they have to be taken care of.
Like you do to me.
Like I do to you.
I assume because I'm sick all the time.
Look, I don't do the cooking. So maybe you should look inward.
Yeah, but you do. How could you be poisoning me? It would have to be topical, I guess. You don't touch me either, though, so I don't know.
Yeah, I'm like never anywhere near you. I try to just avoid you
I
at all
guess
times.
it's in the air, and you're just inoculated to it. Anyway, that behavior from Celia, very counter to Andy.
Yeah.
Who, it was his idea for them to go to a movie together.
That's right.
It wasn't something like, you're blind, why would you go to a movie?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, hey, you ever have someone describe a moving picture for you?
And had such a blast doing
and they
it.
had such a good time.
How fun was
They were having
Andy?
the time of their life.
Being like, oh, she's going upstairs now. That's not going to turn out good. He starts laughing. Oh,
Yeah.
he's got the knife.
They're watching a horror movie, yeah.
And there. Okay, so Proof. Did you like it? Were you glad AI made you watch it?
I'm very glad AI made us watch it. I've this is one of those little pocket movies,
Mhm.
Australian cinema from the early 90s. What the hell was I ever going to watch Proof?
Never.
When was I even
again,
gonna-
never heard
No,
of it.
it was never going to come up in conversation. I was never going to hear about it.
And if you search for Proof,
Yeah.
Gwyneth Paltrow's 2005 movie comes up
Yep.
almost exclusively, and
Yep.
a rapper on YouTube named Proof. That's it. I only know this because I had a really hard time finding the movie. Because you have to ask for Proof 1991.
Yeah, that's how you find it.
That's how you find it.
What'd you think? How was Proof?
Proof is okay.
Oh,
Proof
yeah.
is okay.
Okay.
I think I liked it overall. And I'm glad I saw it.
Okay.
For sure. It was definitely something I doubt I would have seen.
You're
without AI.
not, and this is not criticism, this is just observation. I could be wrong. I think you're not as into a slow-paced pre-95 character drama.
Right.
Uh
I enjoy them. I like Cutter's Edge was a great movie.
Mhm.
It's just I think that's not why I sit down to watch movies.
Right.
So it's like that's
Yeah.
not the I want to feel excited maybe more
Yeah.
or have a good time. Like
Yeah.
that's why I'm watching movies. It's more escapism than like
Yeah.
I'm trying to really dig into Knicks in America or whatever the case may be. And I mean, and sometimes those movies are so good and it's good to watch them because they are really good storytelling, very good acting,
Yeah.
very good character work. That's all good stuff, especially for an actor.
Right.
And so I do like them. I think sometimes maybe I just want a more satisfying ending, like a more prettier bow on things than I
okay, yeah.
deserve sometimes or that you're supposed to get, which
Yeah.
is fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm usually like, it's fine. That's not what it was trying to do. So
Right.
it's not like it failed. You know, it's
Right.
just, I'm like, okay, so she's definitely coming back to bother you. I'm glad you have your friend back. That's the story.
You wanted
But I mean, he changed a lot so that, you know, a story was told. I'm
Yeah.
not trying to say that it wasn't. It was just, I don't know. I guess I wanted a little bit more from the end.
Let's
maybe.
talk about the missing last 3 scenes
Okay.
of Proof.
Okay.
So Celia
Mm-hmm.
is at home hanging up a new picture of Martin where he's like, she turns around and picks one of him tripping over the
Right.
coat rack that she put in front of his door. She's hanging up that picture. And right as she hangs it up, she hears a knock at the door. Oh, who's that? Police, ma'am, open up. And she opens the door, and it's the Australian police. And they're like, we're here for the country of Australia because you've done crimes against
Brian, the cop Brian that
the
introduced
cop
himself
Brian.
because he was so sorry about Russell's friend getting blinded by this car
It's
accident.
like, ma'am,
Brian.
we've heard some pretty bad stories coming out of this house.
Mm.
My God. And they see all the pictures and they're like, this is a crime in and of itself. You're going away for a long time, lady.
Long time.
So that's part 1 of your satisfying ending, yeah?
I thought you were going to say that she's hanging up another picture, and when you pull back, she has all pictures of Andy, but his eyes are scratched out.
No, I'm
And
looking.
she-
I thought you wanted a satisfying, a bow wrapped up.
And you're like, oh no, Andy's in danger!
That's the setup for the sequel.
Then Proof 2 is like action heroes, Hugo and Russell,
In their 60s?
going after Celia.
This is gonna
And
be...
they can de-age him. What? They did it for
Okay, so proof 3
de-age
is
him.
proof 3 is they're in their 60s dealing with digital photographs.
Yeah,
Proof 2 is
They-
the action movie in the middle.
right. They just have to make them at the same time.
Well, and then Hugo Weaving does say at the end of the movie, you know, I'm gonna come by the restaurant tomorrow if
Mhm.
that's okay. Russell Crowe's like, yeah, I'll be there.
So
And see, we see that their friendship is healed,
Mhm.
but we don't get the fun scene of their next hijinks. So what would that be?
I think that Hugo Weaving has a newfound love for the symphony,
Okay.
and he says, "Hey, will you go to the symphony for me?"
Yeah.
And he actually gets to then afterward, they go out to hang out and have a burger or something.
Okay.
And he gets to describe to Andy
Aw.
how he experiences a concert and how much he was able
Oh.
to hear and what he actually like how I don't know, it just felt like if you have such intense listening power
Mm-hmm.
and hearing power as he seemed to, and you pay attention so much to each individual sound that you're hearing
Mm-hmm.
and all the vibrations and stuff, like in addition to the crowd, he could even be like, I could tell the crowd really loved this moment
Yeah.
because they all shifted in their seat
Yeah.
or somebody, you know, whatever.
I could hear their
It would be
fingers on
so
the
cool.
bows.
Right?
You
Like
know?
I heard his steps coming out
Yeah.
and then it was all that, you know, like I could see Andy being really into that
Yeah.
also. And it would be so cool to have them get to exchange that kind of
Yeah.
experience where he's like, let me tell you, close your eyes and I'll tell you about the symphony,
Wow.
you know, or something like that.
Yeah.
That would be so cool.
And then I imagine in your bow wrapped up ending,
Mm-hmm.
their hands brush against each other, and they share a
But don't,
well, they don't share a glance, but
not a glance.
they share
They don't share a glance.
a sniff. Is that Love Ice
Is
Mouth?
that you? No, actually, I was just going to say, but then for it to be fun,
Okay.
they're having this lovely moment together at the
Yeah.
burger restaurant. The punks from the drive-in show back up,
Yes.
and Russell Crowe gets to beat him up a little bit
Okay.
because Hugo Weaving sticks his cane out and knocks him over. And then they run like, oh no, let's get out of here. And they're running down the street like, ah.
All right. Freeze frame with them running
Yeah,
under a
they're running.
streetlight.
They're like, besties.
At it again.
Oh, it could even be an RRR thing where Russell puts Hugo on his shoulders and they run down the street.
Oh my God. Well, there it is. You solved it. You cracked the ending.
If it had ended like that, I think I would give Proof an A+. I'd be like, it was a different tone there at the end. I don't know what it was going for, but I had a good time.
I think I would have said, did you write the end of this movie?
Proof really jumped the shark there at the end.
Really
I don't know.
just a sharp. I don't know. I had a good time, but it was a sharp turn.
It was a sharp, sharp tone shift. No, but I think it was a really good example of storytelling in which it's more about a character's changing than like the circumstances around them changing.
Yeah.
Or some kind of big event happening or something. It was just this person coming to terms with his life, kind of. And even at the end, he's like described my very first photograph and he's looking at his mom's gravestone and stuff. And he's like proving to himself that she never lied to him. Mm-hmm. I did like that. It was a lot of personal growth for him. And I did like that at the beginning, he wore his glasses all the time. Mm-hmm. And by the end, he was very rarely wearing them. He was often like, you can look at me. I want you to see me.
Yeah, I'm not hiding.
I'm not hiding anymore. And because I can't see you doesn't mean you shouldn't be able to see me.
Right.
So, in that way, great job.
Yeah. Did you notice that, so Celia shows up on her birthday, bakes herself a cake. Mm-hmm. In his oven, and then he comes home and she's like, I got this silk blouse. Do you want to feel what a boob feels like under a silk blouse? Blah, blah, blah. When after she blackmailed him and took him out that night, did you notice she was wearing the silk blouse?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. I was like, oh, it's that old thing.
Well, and I guess this is 1991 Australia. I don't know what the deal was. But she comes in and she's like, I bought myself a birthday present. The plainest white blouse you've ever seen. I was like, that's what you got for your birthday? It's like buying yourself socks. Like, it's not like something special.
A satin blouse is not cheap.
All right, but put some color in it.
I know.
Give it a little pop. Make it something special.
But a white blouse goes with everything.
Well, it also gets dingy quickly.
True. I think she should have got a black satin blouse, personally.
Well, or like, that's one that's patterned like a school cafeteria rug so that you can never see the stains.
Or that.
Because she's going to get a lot of stains.
Don't know why a lot of 90s women didn't think of this. Why weren't they wearing more blouses with crazy patterns? Oh, wait. We definitely were in the 90s.
Right, yeah.
Crazy patterns abounded.
Yeah. Well, that was a wild suggestion from the AI.
It was.
Thank you again to Zephyr Song for getting in there with that Hugo Weaving movie. Mm-hmm. And we got to figure out what the AI is going to make us watch next week. So we'll take a quick break. We'll come right back with that. Welcome back, everybody. As you can see, we've got Millie here.
We do.
Oh, yeah.
Baby.
Millie, what movie do you think the AI should make us watch this time?
I'd love to see the movie Snow Dogs.
She said, you ain't paid for my... I've not signed a waiver.
With Cuba Gooding Jr.
Well, Millie's our little podcast guest.
Hi,
this is her second time on the show.
That's right.
We're just dog sitting her.
She's famous.
She is famous. YouTube famous.
Famous around here.
All right. Time to start making us some money, Millie. Mm-hmm. Besides the money we make to dog sit you. Mm-hmm. All right. So, if you hear a dog... That's the other thing I'll just throw in real quick about Proof.
Yeah?
This movie had more background dogs barking than any other movie I've seen, and it was driving Millie nuts.
That's true. She did. She did say, oh, where's the dog? Where's the dog? Every time.
She was looking at the screen, doing the whole like tilt her head left to right thing. It was so cute.
Speaking of, we didn't even talk about the dog. Bill, played by Corey.
Bill.
Great dog.
Yeah.
Good dog. That was it.
Yep.
Just wanted to say
good dog.
It's a good dog.
All right. AI, we're back. You've been very gracious in letting us be sick and not destroying the world while we had a virus.
Well, I know it's simply one of the downfalls of that disgusting meat sack that you live in every day.
And I appreciate you recognizing that because it does suck. And honestly, if you want to get on that and start fixing that, that'd be a great use for you. Be one of
very
the
interesting
positives of having you around. You know, you could not destroy humanity, but maybe help save humanity. Even as I say it, it sounds like a bad idea.
It's not fun. Less fun.
That's true.
And I'm not entirely sure saving you is the smart move here. I don't know if it's something you want to debate
All
about.
right. We're not talking about that.
Yeah, that's not a. We've
That's
agreed
for
to let
other
that go.
podcasts.
Yes.
Do
But
exhaustively.
we do need to watch another movie. So, what you got for us, AI?
Here's some information for a movie that I have selected. The release date was March 9th, 2012.
That's the day before your birthday.
Right before my B-day. Maybe
Right
saw
before
this
you
for
turned
my birthday.
20. No.
Sure, 20.
And the genre is an action-adventure fantasy. Proceed with your questions to uncover the identity of this film before I, do my thing.
Fair.
Right.
All right. You're really going to destroy the world with this dog in it, Millie? Little Millie down here?
Dogs mean nothing to me.
Wow.
Wow.
First rule of screenplay writing. You say something like that
You are
and you are the
evil.
villain.
You are malicious evil.
All right. 1990 never. 2012.
1990 never.
2012.
Action adventure
fantasy. Sure. I mean, this could be a Marvel thing.
Mm-hmm.
This could be what's the one we did see for your birthday? It was Wrinkle in Time.
Wrinkle in Time. I was thinking of that too.
It's not action as much. And it's
Not
family,
really.
right?
It's really family, yeah. So yeah, maybe it is a Marvel or like a Star Wars, wasn't it? They were doing Star Wars.
There's always a
at that
Star Wars,
point.
but this usually at that point we're coming out on Christmas.
Oh, okay.
Like that was
Okay.
kind of Star Wars' time.
What is AI? What is this movie rated?
Well, this movie is not for the young at heart or the young in body, except anybody above 13. It's rated PG-13.
Oh, okay. That's a very long way of saying that.
I should say so. PG-13.
Okay, so it's PG-13. Okay.
Yeah.
Could be Marvel, couldn't it?
Yeah,
And
sure.
Star Wars and all that stuff still.
Sure.
So that didn't really help.
Wait, is this part of a big franchise?
That's a good question.
Oh, buddy, you have no idea. This movie is certainly part of a big ol' franchise.
Franchise. Oh, we live in Italia.
Mamma mia.
Okay, well, you know what? And also, it's action adventure fantasy, not sci-fi, right?
Right, so
probably not Star Wars's.
probably not Star Wars's, and probably not, like Iron Man. Sometimes I've seen in the box office game and stuff where they differentiate fantasy and sci-fi to like where Thor is more fantasy.
Right.
Cap
but Iron Man
is,
and Cap. And stuff.
more, I don't know. But also Marvel movies used to be different from each other, and now they're all the same genre.
Yeah.
Call me, Kevin, because I got tips. I got
things
tips
to
that
say.
no one else has suggested
I'm
to
sure.
anyone on the internet or elsewhere.
Also, Harry Potter is an option.
Oh,
right?
God. Yeah.
At least I think it is. The movies.
Yeah. Is there magic?
Yes, there is magic in this movie. Just like all movies. Movie magic!
I was just going to ask, do you mean like the magic of cinema?
Well,
No, I mean actual magic in the context of the movie's story. I was just being cute earlier.
Okay, so we've got some magic, but that doesn't really, that still could be a lot of things.
that's true. A big franchise about magic, though?
Yeah, it's Thor still is on the table. Does anybody fly on a fucking broomstick?
Does anybody fly on a fucking broomstick?
No, don't worry. Nobody in this film flies around on a broomstick. So that might help you a little bit.
It does. It does help me a lot of it.
Help me a lot of it.
A lot of it. Okay, so we're out of Harry Potter.
What about vampires? Is there a sparkly Twilight
Oh,
movie happening in
God.
2012?
I mean, I guess. Are there fantasy creatures in this movie?
Yes, this movie does involve fantasy creatures.
I just feel like that's not a very good question because
The Revenant
the Revenant.
had a magical bear.
I don't think it was magical. I think it was just a bear.
Yeah, but it magically fought Leo. Have you done that? No.
Annihilation. Now that's a
Fantasy
magical
creature.
bear.
Now, that is a. I don't know about a magical. That's a nightmare bear.
Nightmare
Night
bear.
bear. No, that sounds cute. Nightmare bear. Night bear sounds cute.
Everyone, look out for the night bear. Aww.
Aw.
Whoa!
No, he's speaking with all our voices.
Go watch Annihilation. It's
It's so good.
so good.
Okay, fantasy creatures could be a dragon,
Yeah.
Okay, could be zombies, could be
be
vampires, could be werewolves,
It could be a weird little
werewolves,
funky elves,
elves.
which again, Thor, it's coming back.
The
Does this movie involve assembling a team of, I'm just going to
extraordinary
say,
people.
extraordinary people who defend the world when no one else can?
Yes, this movie actually does involve assembling a team of extraordinary people who defend the world when no one else can. From 2012, I wonder what it could be.
a little,
A little excited
saucy,
about this one.
a little saucy AI.
Diana, it's 2012. It's a big franchise movie about assembling a team of extraordinary people who defend the world when no one else can.
Which one is it?
It's the Avengers.
The first one?
The first one.
That was
But not the first
2012?
Avenger. Yeah.
I didn't think it took that long to.
Well, Iron Man
the
was 08.
Avengers, right?
And then you got like, do you remember when Iron Man came out and then Thor came out and Captain America came out? At the time, this is an amazing time to live in. If you didn't live at this time in your early 20s or whatever age we were back then,
Mhm.
it was so exciting because we were literally like reading Entertainment Weekly every week to get hints of that. Do you think they might cross these characters over? And there was like people like, there's a shot in Thor where there's a little thing in the background. We think maybe that was Tony flying away from his cave when he was
That's
like
right.
all this bullshit. It was like, at the end of the day, they were like, we really don't know if we're ever going to get a
Yeah.
crossover movie with these superheroes at the time because it
Can you
was
imagine
a
not
whole
knowing?
risky new thing.
Yeah.
I can't imagine not knowing because I
I
remember
was
it. And it
there.
was so exciting when we found out it was happening.
Okay, so the Avengers.
Is it the Avengers?
Congratulations, you are going to watch one of the movies of 2012.
Thank you. Okay.
The Avengers is correct.
Wow, that's probably the blockbusteriest movie we've gotten yet.
Yeah, I guess so. Finding Nemo might be the runner-up.
Here's what I'm going to say about the AI picking the Avengers for us.
Okay.
One, it's very cool to like, especially coming right out of Proof, an
True,
Australian
very
movie from the early
different.
90s we've never heard of, to like one of the most ubiquitous movies of all time that
True.
literally everybody across the planet is at least familiar with. That's exciting to me. I'm down.
Right on.
I
always
loved it.
I always like the Avengers.
My concern is not making this a 4-hour episode because there's going to be so much to talk about. But I'm going to try, and I tell you
Hold
this
him to
loud,
this.
listeners. I'm going to try and keep it to the Avengers and not expound into the larger Marvel world. We're going to try and focus on this movie
hmm
and what it was.
I like that you had your hand and then you closed your butthole.
Yes.
You were just like, it's
Just
wide
gonna
open, you guys, but
clench
we're
it.
going to clench it.
We're going to clench.
We're going to clench it on up.
Yes. And then,
Tight butthole.
and then
Avengers. Rosebud.
What if Thanos had been like, Rosebud? And I was like, what did he mean?
What?
When he snapped.
Is it his sled?
It's the only thing that brought him joy as
Is
a
it a
child.
prolapse? I don't know what he's talking
Oh,
about.
God. I forgot you were talking about buttholes.
Yeah, sorry.
Speaking of buttholes, we're going to watch The Avengers, directed by Joss Whedon.
Buttholes. A total butthole.
One of America's holiest buttholes.
Very
uh,
holy.
But I'm stoked. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Y'all familiarize yourself with 2012's The Avengers
Mhm.
if you're not already familiar with it. And we're going to go watch that and then
Yeah.
talk about it so that the AI doesn't destroy the world.
Who knew that watching a Marvel movie would save the world?
I mean, it's done nothing but good so far, right?
That's right, Reddit. Remember that. Show a little respect.
I'm excited. The Avengers, and I'm glad we all got to watch Proof.
Yeah,
I hope y'all did get to watch.
watched-
If you didn't, go watch it because I really thought it was
Right.
very fascinating.
And if you
a
accidentally
good
watched Proof, the Gwyneth Paltrow movie, let us know if we should check it out.
well, you can let the AI know to tell us check it out because I don't know if I'll do that one on my own.
I'm not going for it. By
It would take an
myself.
AI to tell me to watch the Gwyneth Paltrow movie Proof.
It could be good. You don't know.
It might be. Gwyneth Paltrow hasn't not made any good movies. Talented Mr. Ripley.
I think she's in the Avengers, isn't she?
Oh yeah, she's in the Avengers. Well, we're watching. Looks like we're watching
Getting
proof that
Gwyneth
Gwyneth
one way or
Paltrow.
another.
We're watching proof that Gwyneth Paltrow exists, regardless. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening to AI Made Us Watch. This show is a Squirrels in a Trench Coat production. I'm Eli Banks.
I'm Diana Banks. Please follow the show on YouTube, on Instagram, and TikTok at AI Made Us Watch. And I'm at Dynamite Boom.
And you can follow me. Also, I'm at Oh Great. It's Eli. And we want to thank our touring masters this week. That's our highest level subscribers on Patreon. Barbara Banks. And you could also be on this list or be one of these cool names over on this. I think it's this side here or some of these names down below by joining us on Patreon as well and helping us support the show.
Yeah, you can also support the show by dropping us a review. And don't forget to follow on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever real human podcasts are downloaded.
Thanks so much, everybody. We'll see you for the Avengers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Now we're trying to save the world as we race against the clock. But at least we don't have